2, 1.
Oh, man. Good morning, good morning. SEC Insider Hit is brought to you by Havana Smoke Shop. Premium cigars. 2 locations for you in the metro area. I-55 North, Frontage Road, Havana Smoke Shop. And their new location, across from Shaggy's, at the Reservoir. La Flor Dominicanas, Liga Privadas, Fuentes Olivas, Monte Cristos. Rocky Patel's. I haven't dropped Rocky Patel enough, considering we've had him on the show. And a great selection of premium sticks at Havana Smoke Shop. Show is also presented by Modelo. Modelo, it's a Taco Tuesday, brought to you by Modelo. And then Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, we're giving away a super cool Modelo cooler. How do you enter to win? Just show us that you've downloaded the Out of Bounds radio app via text, Facebook, Twitter, however you want to tag us. We welcome in our friend Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. And Lugs joins us on the Modelo guest line. Tom, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Good morning, man. I appreciate the adjustment this week, but I got to ask you, isn't every Tuesday Taco Tuesday?
No question. No question. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it should be every day.
I was about to say, look, smashing some tacos and a cold beer, it doesn't get any better, right?
No, at all.
Do you have – all right, so you're up in the Charlotte area, but you dance into Asheville and down near Clemson and so on. Is there a spot that jumps out at you that you and the fam smash some tacos anywhere between Clemson and Charlotte, North Carolina?
You know what? Nothing that comes to mind other than if you see something on the side of the road that looks like a hole in a wall,
bam,
you got to stop and go because you just know it's going to be authentic and legit.
That's right. All right, look, I texted you last week, I think, or the week before, and I asked you to pick between Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma and Matt Corral at Ole Miss. And you said, I said, who's better? Who would you take? Something like that. I framed it up. And you said Matt Corral by nose, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Dane Brugler on theathletic.com, and we like Dane, comes out with this 2022 first-round deal, okay? Now, we don't know who's going to pick where.
The way too early type of deal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. This blew me away. And I'm not here to pick on Dane. This just surprised me, okay? All right, so number 1 pick, he's got Spencer Rattler. Then he has 4 other QBs taken in the first round. Sam Howell, Malik Willis going 6th to the Eagles, JT Daniels 10th, and then Phil Jerkovich, I guess, or Vetch, with Boston College. But, I mean, Tom, I'm blown away that Matt Corral's not getting the love considering what he did last year against an all-SEC schedule.
Well, I don't think that there is a coach in America that would take JT Daniels and Phil Jerkovich over Matt Corral. I don't know if there's going to be many that'll take Sam Howell. You know, the thing with Sam is he's very, very gifted, but he's also kind of what you see is what you get, you know. Same height, same weight as a high school senior that he is right now. Kind of just, I don't want to call him Jake Fromm because I think he's got more arm talent than Jake Fromm. I think he's more of a powerful passer, but he's on the shorter side. So I think when these NFL guys and these GMs and these scouts, and they really start paying attention and they're looking at these guys, they're doing a lot of what we're doing and what college coaches are doing at the high school level and saying, what is this guy going to be in 4 years? Is he going to be the same guy that he is now? I really don't see the Jerkovich one at all. So
or Malik Willis?
God, I mean, listen, it's easy. Yeah, I know. I know. That's
over Matt Corral?
To me, there are 2 first-rounders. If we're doing a way too early deal, there's 2 guys you're talking about right now, Matt Corral and Spencer Rattler.
Okay.
In my opinion. Those are the 2 you're talking about. And then I think the third one which may be a little bit distanced, would be Sam Howell.
All right.
But JT Daniels at number 10?
How about Malik Willis at number 6?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's nuts. Tom Luginbill, who played quarterback for Georgia Tech, joining us on the Out of Bounds show. He's coached, of course, been with ESPN. How many years have you been with ESPN, Luke?
Just surpassed 15 years.
Dang. Cool. All right.
It goes fast, man.
I know, unfortunately, especially once you get in the 40s at our age. So we had another insider on last week, and they said something that it's very simplistic, which sometimes those are the things that kind of frame it up and nail it, right? What we're talking about. And he just said NFL teams don't develop QBs. That QBs are developed over the course of their life from 6 to 21, that it's got to be, you got to be the man at some point, whether it's 10 years old on the playground, which then you parlay that into, starting QB in junior high and then high school. And you played this position. I mean, you played it throughout high school, junior college, Georgia Tech, Power 5, so on.
Yeah.
But he was just like, he said, they don't have time. They have to win the next game. He said, they're not going to wait on Tua. They're not going to wait on Marcus Mariota. They're not going to wait on Jalen Hurts. For example, Tua and Hurts have to get it probably done this year. Daniel Jones, a little bit different deal, but he's lucky to get year 3. Do you? Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I don't think the NFL has time to develop a QB. You're either good enough or you aren't. Your thoughts?
Well, I think you can retard a QB in the sense he can regress if you're trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. Listen, it's not 25 years ago where when you entered into the National Football League, you know what you were trained to do as a quarterback? Take 3-step drops, 5-step drops, throw on time, work through progressions, find checkdowns, all right? You weren't in the no huddle. You weren't in the shotgun. All right? You weren't throwing for 4,500 yards. There weren't bubble screens, okay? There weren't RPOs. The game has evolved so significantly, and the quarterback position, in my opinion, has become so oversimplified in terms of what they ask them to do. And not with everybody, not with like a David Shaw or maybe with some of the things that, Jim Harbaugh was doing for a long time. Jimbo Fisher is very, very complex. But for my money, I think when you say, okay, the NFL doesn't develop quarterbacks, I would tend to agree if you're asking the quarterback to do something that from the age of 5 to 20, he's never been asked to do. I can't tell you how many camps and combines I go to where I will watch a kid that's got 20 Power 5 offers, and you ask him to take a 5-step drop and throw a 10 to 12-yard speed cutout route on time without a hitch, he can't do it. He physically can't do it. I mean, it's almost embarrassing. But it doesn't matter that he can't do it because that's not how offense is played. I think my reaction to that is I think that statement's a little oversimplified. It's not wrong, but it's a little oversimplified. And for me, I think you got to look to Andy Reid. You got to look to Andy Reid. Andy Reid came up through the coaching ranks for 40 years and did nothing but the West Coast offense. Mike Holmgren, Bill Walsh, Mike Shanahan, West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. That's it. Have you watched Kansas City the last 3 years? What do they look like? They look like a college team.
Absolutely, they do.
They look like a college team. That guy completely changed his whole philosophical approach because of how quarterbacks are being trained and developed when they get them. And it's not to play on the West Coast. It's not to be Drew Brees. It's not to be Tom Brady. It's RPO. It's quarterback athleticism. It's creating on your own. It's perimeter stuff. So I think there's some truth to that statement, but it gets created by NFL ego. Because if you're not willing to morph and evolve with the game and how the players have been developed prior to them arriving to you, then you're going to fail. It won't matter how physically talented the guy is. You're not changing the stripes on a tiger as a 23-year-old. He's going to be what he is.
Describe the difference between Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma and Matt Corral out of Ole Miss?
I don't think there's that much difference in their overall physical attributes. I think Matt Corral is a more instinctive runner. I think he's a little bit more of a creative player than Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler is a pass first, run if you have to, and is more than competent in doing so when that time comes. That's how I would describe Spencer Rattler. With Matt Corral, I think you could, if you said, hey, we're going to take Matt Corral and this week we're going to run the triple option wishbone with him, I think he'd kill you.
Tom Luginbill on the Modelo guest line. So you mentioned JT Daniels, and look, he can be a super good college quarterback, but do you think he's kind of a poor man's Aaron Murray?
Yeah, I think he's Matt Barkley. I think he's Jake Fromm. I think he's Aaron Murray. There's no doubt. He's another one of those guys that, and you could see it in high school. You could watch him, and you could say, all right, how good is this guy? You know, are his physical attributes so good that he can just, you know, become just a difference maker over the course of time? Or does he have some limitations? You know, I think he's got more limitations than he has physical upside. That's just my personal opinion.
All right.
Not to say that he can't play and not to say that he can't be, like I've called him. Georgia became a college football playoff caliber team last year when they had competency at quarterback.
Right.
Didn't have to be a difference maker. They're so talented everywhere, but he gave them competency. And if you're not going to, it's a little bit like Greg McElroy. Trying to think of some other guys. Aaron Murray is another, I think, really a good example of being a talented guy that's smart and heady, maybe is never going to be supremely gifted or, you know, supremely athletic, but the personnel around him is so good that the player's smart enough to realize it.
Compare Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN, on the Modelo guest line talking QBs. Compare Mac Jones and Matt Corral.
Wow. Well, obviously, athletically, completely different folks. I mean, we're not. That's a hard conversation to have if you're really going to dive in, because you're comparing apples and oranges, not apples and apples. I don't think that Matt Corral's had the blessing of, they've had good and an Elijah Moore type guy, maybe potentially elite personnel, but haven't had the wealth of depth of that personnel around Matt Corral that Mac Jones had this past fall. But I think, and again, everybody says I knock Mac Jones and I'm going to be way off base, and I might be way off base. Listen, I think a lot of it is going to the right place at the right time, being in the right organization, and him dropping out of the top 10 was probably the best thing that ever happened to him.
Sure.
I really believe that. But it's so hard for me to look at Mac Jones and say, what if he wouldn't have switched to Alabama and signed with Kentucky where he was originally committed? Would we be talking about him right now?
No.
I don't think we would either.
No.
I don't think we would either.
If you were a general manager on Thursday night and you couldn't get Trevor Lawrence, but you had to have a QB, and you got to pick between Matt Corral and the others that were drafted, who would you pick, Tom?
Ooh, that's a tough question, because those guys are, obviously a little bit ahead from a maturity standpoint. That would be tough, man. I might be inclined to lean towards Matt Corral. I really might feel strongly about that. I don't know if you could go wrong if you did that. I think, obviously with Trey Lance, there's questions of overall accuracy and the fact that he hadn't played a lot of games, played 17 games. With Justin, everybody's trying to nitpick the heck out of him. The one thing that we don't know yet, because we haven't gone through all the pre-draft process and he hasn't had another fall, is how Matt Corral will be nitpicked. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Like the nitpicking part doesn't seem to happen until the season's done, and then you start, peeling back all of the layers. It's kind of like a statistic that I had shared with you about Mac Jones, where when you started to study them towards the end of the year, and you're looking at his overall completion percentage, which was 77%, and then you start to realize how Sark was setting up plays with pre-snap RPOs that utilized motion in the offense, so the decision of where to go with the ball was made before the ball was snapped. Well, he completed 92% of his passes. Well, if you remove that out of the offense, what's his completion percentage?
Right. Not good.
And those are all things that happen during an off season. And again, we got to find something wrong with everybody, right? You can't find something wrong with Trevor Lawrence, so what do? They use the Sports Illustrated article against him.
Right. Right.
Now all of a sudden, because he likes things outside of football, that's it. Red flag. He's not going to be committed to it. He's not going to work at it. I mean, come on. Give me a break. You know what I thought? I thought it showed great maturity from a young player to acknowledge that you can be very gifted and very skilled at your craft and your profession and also enjoy life. There's nothing wrong with that.
No question.
Shouldn't be knocked for it. Shouldn't be knocked for it.
Tom Luginbill with ESPN on the Modelo guest line. Okay, so we're for our listeners, we started with the athletic.com article by Dane Brugler where he throws out a first round for next year draft, and Matt Corral's not in the top 32, which blows me away that Malik Willis is at number 6 and JT Daniels is at number 10, among other things. But, it is what it is. Everybody's got their own deal. If you had to bet $100 today, you would – I have a feeling you would bet that Corral is off the board in the top 10 to 15 picks, right?
No question. No doubt. And the other thing, too, that we've got to acknowledge all of this is there will probably be, in some way, shape, or form, somewhere, a Zach Wilson pop up, right?
Yes.
Somebody's going to, like for me, and it just happened to be the stroke of luck of who we got assigned to that week. I had a chance to see Zach Wilson twice the year before, and I knew because he went on the road and beat Tennessee in double overtime, then came back home. We had him the next week. He beat USC at home. And I came away, and I'm like, this guy is a dude. Now, I don't know if anybody knew that he was going to have the type of year that he had, but it was very easy to see that it wasn't going to be long before this was a guy that was going to turn into a hot commodity. So, who's that going to be? Does Keaton Slovis at USC have just a monster year and become that guy? Does Jay Daniels at Arizona State have a monster year, become that guy? Nobody knows, but it may happen for somebody. I mean, I think that's
the dude at Iowa State. I can't remember his name.
Dude at Iowa State. His issue
Purdy?
is he's got to stop turning the dang ball over.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy, as good as he is and as talented he is, he's got to start protecting the football better. If he does, he'll be fine. So it's it's interesting. That's what makes it so much fun to, and hopefully we'll get back to having a full capacity, full college football season.
Oh, sure.
But there will be guys. Somebody will break out. Somebody besides the Sam Howell, whoever it is, and then they'll become the flavor of the week or the flavor of the month, and then we'll be talking about them for Heisman and all that. It's sure to happen with somebody.
Yeah. Oh, we're going full capacity. We've been going up to our listeners have been going to Starkville and Oxford, and so have we, and going into baseball stadiums with 13,000 people, which has been a lot of fun.
It's awesome.
Just in the last few weeks. And, I was in Starkville for the A&M series over the weekend. It was packed. So, Ole Miss Mississippi State series two or 3 weeks ago was absolutely packed. So it was
Cool.
good times to see people drinking beer and grilling and having a large time at an awesome sporting event. Okay, we'll wrap it up with this. I've got a couple of minutes. I'm not wishing any ill will on any of these guys. We're just trying to find a trend and kind of what's happening here. But if Mac Jones and Justin Fields along with Jalen Hurts and Tua, don't really pan out. Because, again, they're at blue blood programs, and they don't necessarily have to elevate their teams and all that and carry people on Saturday like an Eli or a Dak or an Aaron Rodgers and many others, Mahomes, so on. Drew Brees, we could go on and on. But do you think that will deter more teams in the NFL to go to not take the bait for the blue blood QB?
Potentially. I think it will force them to peel back more layers.
Okay.
Maybe put a little bit more stock in personnel. Maybe put a little bit more stock in scheme. Like I was sharing with you some of the things that Steve Sarkisian was able to create that didn't require any thought process, didn't require any type of progression reads, that were able to amass a lot of explosive plays.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what it will lead to. But to be honest with you, barring injury, I think Tua makes it to a second contract because I think he's talented enough. I think he's good enough, and I think they will work. They'll work to get good personnel around him. My biggest worry with him is he's hurt all the time.
Right.
And you start to wonder at what point is it going to rear its ugly head again. Jalen Hurts. I think so much of Jalen Hurts is he's a winner. But you really have to do what he can do, right? Kind of like our earlier discussion of saying, okay, if this guy's going to be our guy, we need to identify the weaknesses, eliminate everything from the scheme that he's not comfortable with, and do all the things that accentuate his strengths.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens with Hurts and Tua this year. That's going to be fascinating. Tom Luginbill, National College Football Analyst with ESPN on the Modelo guest line. Lugs, have a good Taco Tuesday. We'll talk next week.
All right, buddy. You too. Take care.
See you, dude. Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show. It's a Taco Tuesday brought to you by Two Brothers Smoked Meats. We'll be giving away 3 $25 gift certificates tomorrow. Compliments of Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the historic Cotton District. Great tacos, wings. They've got a burger that's very, very underrated. They've got some sandwiches that are very underrated. New place. They built a new place. It's gangbusters. Super cool. They've got the outdoor area and so on. The Taco Tuesday is also brought to you by Modelo. We're giving away an awesome-looking Modelo cooler with some Jonesy Q rub for tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo, at the end of the show. All right? Here's how you enter to possibly win. Show us that you've downloaded the Out of Bounds radio app. You can either text it, 601-885-3776. Tweet to us at BoBounds. Tag us on Facebook. Search the Out of Bounds show. And on Instagram, Bo_Bounds. Did I hit everything there, Blake? All right. Giving away an awesome-looking Modelo cooler. You can see a picture of it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Enjoy your Taco Tuesday. Brought to you by Modelo and Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the historic Cotton District. We will see you tomorrow. Don't forget about the podcast, Apple Podcast. Search the Out of Bounds show.